Greetings, and welcome to Joy in the Morning podcast, where we have real conversations about life and faith. I'm your host, Joy Richard, and I'm very grateful and very thankful that you've decided to tune in to another episode. If this is your first time, welcome. If this is not your first time, welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm really excited for today's conversation, for the guests that we have, and I'm excited because we have reached the end of season 3. I'm not happy that the season is ending, but it's just another season in the books with really great guests, really great conversations, and really great encouragement. So I'm thankful to everyone that has listened along for season 3. And if you're just popping in now and you're catching the end, that's all right. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're going to be hearing today's conversation and today's episode. It's going to be such a blessing. I have a guest. Her name is Ahsley Johnson. She's a dear friend of mine. We met a couple years ago, right around this time of year. And it was around the time that I was asking God for new friends and for like-minded people to be in my life. And God sent Ahsley. And she's been such a blessing since we met, since we became friends. And I don't know where I would have been in the last couple years without her prayer, her encouragement, her friendship. And so I'm excited for you to hear her story. I'm excited for you to hear her faith journey and where God has brought her, how he has worked through her. It is honestly such a blessing. So before we get all the way started with the conversation between me and Ahsley, there are a few updates, as always. First being, if you are not following on whatever your listening platform is, go ahead and hit the follow button so you're notified every time an episode drops on Joy in the Morning. Also, make sure that you are commenting, leaving feedback. It just helps podcast growth. Also, just an update on what's going to happen as far as season 4. So we take a couple weeks break at the end of every season. So we will start season 4 on October 25th, and it's just going to be full of more guests, more encouragement, more conversations regarding faith, regarding life, and how to practically just navigate this world as a believer, or how to navigate as a person that's looking for faith. So I'm really excited for that to begin, and I'm excited to take a couple weeks break and just be refreshed so I can come back strong. I hope that you guys have really enjoyed each guest that we've had. I hope you've enjoyed each conversation. I hope that it's been encouraging and enriching. I know I personally have been blessed and encouraged by the guests and the stories and the conversations that have been had here on Joy in the Morning. And so I'm just excited to get into more of that with season 4. I'm excited to dive deeper. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. So make sure that you are following on whatever your listening platform is, so you're updated as soon as season 4 starts, as soon as the first episode drops. Make sure that you are following along for the journey. I'm sad to see season 3 end, but I'm happy to see season 4 just around the corner. And during the 2-week break, if you need to catch up on some episodes, if there's some episodes you haven't heard yet, go ahead, check some new stuff out. Check out something you haven't heard before, and I pray it's a blessing to you. But enough of this season 4 updates. Let's get into today's episode. Again, the guest, her name is Ahsley, a dear friend of mine, and I pray that you guys are blessed by her story, blessed by her faith journey. Greetings. Welcome. I need to stop saying this. I have a special guest. I say that about everybody. But genuinely, I do. I have a dear friend here. Her name is Ahsley. She is like a sister to me. We met maybe 2 years ago. Actually, 2 years ago, about this time of year, at church. I was asking God for new friends. You guys have heard me talk about this before. Ashley was one of those friends, very unplanned. I was just trying to you ask God for things and you're not really prepared to receive them. And I was just trying to, stay in my old ways, even though I was asking for something new. And I was asking God for new friends. And then I met Ahsley. because I was doing a life group at church. And she was like, oh my God, are you the Joy I've been hearing about? And I was like, hey. Like, I was very not excited. And she was super excited. And I was just nervous about the life groups, all these things. And then after that, I think after that's when I asked God for new friends. And then Ashley put me in a group text with 3 other people. I had nobody's number except for like one person. And it was like, oh, do you want to pray together during the fast? And I did not respond. Then everybody said yes. So I was like, well, now I have to respond because how am I the church member that doesn't want to pray? And I remember our first prayer call. My plan was to I almost cussed, but not on purpose. My plan was just like to half do it. I was going to say, you know what I was going to say. If you don't know what I was going to say, stay saved. But I was just going to kind of like half do it. And I wasn't really going to pray. I was just going to be like, yeah, thank you, God. Like just a basic prayer. Thank you for this person, blah, blah, whatever. Because we were praying for each other. And the opposite happened. I was like, and God says, and I was like, what is happening to me? But through that, was it 21 days?
No, we did.
Was it 30 days?
We did 30 days every day. Yeah, we did 30 days every day. January of, was that 2023 or 2022?
That was 2023. That was at the top of last year.
That's insane. It feels like that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, we met.
But I think because everything for the 4 of us just like things move very fast. Yes, for us because
a lot has happened in that time.
We spent so much time together.
Yeah. It was crazy. And so over that time, I gained one person I was already friends with, and we were kind of close, but we just got closer, and it was amazing. It was amazing. It was just when I needed, even though I didn't know I needed it. I may be trying to run from it. But that's a long intro. Point is, Ashley is here. I'm really excited to have her. Probably would not be where I am.
Joy, don't do this.
It's really true.
I'm going to weep. And
I don't have any tissues for you, but there's a pillow behind you, and you just put that on your eyes. But wouldn't be where I am without Ashley. She embraced me. She encouraged me. She affirmed me. She validated me. And she did not let me shrink or think less of myself when I wanted to. And when I thought I was not worthy of friendship, when I thought I was not worthy of good things, she was able to speak life into me when I was lifeless, truly. I was on the edge. And so I am forever grateful for her, forever grateful for our friendship and what she has contributed to my life. Glory to God. Oh my God. She has the tears in her eyes, guys.
They didn't fall how it felt like it was going to fall.
Because he's a keeper.
Because it's like, wow, now you're doing that for me. But we won't give away all the things at the top. But
praise God. Wow. Oh, now I'm getting emotional. Well, let's keep this train moving, shall we?
Man.
So this is like an unplanned, like most guests, you know, I ask them if they want to be on the podcast, and we like plan a day to get together and record. Ashley and I got donuts.
Yep.
And I came to pack up my podcast gear, my mics and stuff. And then I was like, let's record an episode. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, no, really? And she was like, oh, yeah. So here we are. But tell everyone who you are, what you do, a little bit about yourself.
I'm Ahsley.
Yeah.
I am from Chicago.
Don't tell me
on the most amazing side of the city. There is no question about it that this side of the city is the most absolute best side of the city, and that is the west side of Chicago, specifically North Lawndale. I would say some cross streets, but it could get a little gang affiliated.
Here's the thing.
I don't live that life no more.
Anybody from Chicago knows it. Respectfully, I love you. The west side of Chicago is the worst side of Chicago. No one when they suggest a place to go, or like whenever someone has a good food spot, whenever someone has like a vibey or a fun thing to do, no one ever suggest
I really want
the west side of Chicago.
I'm excited to be able to like talk and really have a good conversation from this. And so I'm going to choose to not use all the words that I want to say.
You know what?
Because Joy has a loyalty to the South Side, and that's understandable. And I think that is honorable. So yeah, from the West Side, I think cool things to know is that like I grew up in a house with my great grandma, my grandma, and my mom. So we all lived in everyone. And I remember the first time somebody was like, "Oh, 4 generations in one house," and I was like,
"Oh yeah, great grandma, grandma, mom."
I guess so. Like I didn't think about it. But I have a younger sister on my dad's side. We didn't grow up in the same house together, so I grew up as an only child. And a lot of not a lot, because I have a very small family. Like I have 6 cousins, and then I have 4 aunts and uncles, all included, and then that's everybody. That's everybody on my mom's side. My dad's side is even smaller. But like my cousins, we vary in age a lot. Like I'm the youngest grandchild. So I just wasn't around like younger kids a lot. Like I didn't get around a actual baby until I was probably like 16.
Meanwhile, me. Always. Children everywhere. Like, all the time. You can go to your Uncle Ken's house. All the kids around Uncle Ken's house.
Meanwhile, for me, it was like, okay, you gonna go to Mary Dean's house, and then you gonna go to Lou May's house, which was just like all of like the older women. And so
those are older, like Southern names.
Oh man, like literally, like my great grandma's name was Minerva. My grandma's name Minerva Hall. Yeah. That was her name. Oh. And then my grandma's name was Lacey B.
Oh,
Lacey B. Johnson.
It's always the B.
And the B stands for nothing. It's just the letter B. Like it's literally it's just the letter B.
Yeah.
But yeah, we grew up in the house together, and it was really cool for me because like it was chill. Mm-hmm. Like I'm used to being in chill environments.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, my grandma, she was like my best friend. Like we just did everything together. Mm-hmm. And then again, like my great grandma, who like she didn't pass away till she was like 101.
Glory to God.
So and she literally was like she was like, she only like her functions started to change maybe like 6 months before she passed.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
But yeah, so I'm just used to being around old people, kind of chill environments. Yeah, that's...
Praise God.
That's the...
That's the scoop.
That's the scoop.
So I admire that. Like, well, I don't know if admire is the word I want to use, but I'm always interested when people grow up in close, like in a house with different generations. Primarily my childhood and growing up. I spent a lot of time with my great aunt. I spent a considerable amount of time with my grandma. But mostly it was just like me, my brother, my mom, and my dad in the house. Mm-hmm. I have 2 older brothers. They were out by the time we were born. So it's a little different. Like I didn't always have that layering. And so I always find that people have this unique and this special connection with their grandparents when they grew up with them, and they were kind of like a part of like a parenting role. Yeah. Like I have some cousins that way, and like the connection they have with my grandparents is crazy. Like it's great. Like I love it. And it's like there's a respect there. Yeah. And an honor there, but there's like this friendly and like playfulness that like I feel like it can only be developed through that kind of like thing. Like, well, not only that, not that that's the only way that it can be developed, but it's just so much richer when you've grown together. So that's amazing.
Yeah, it'd be funny because I remember like going to school and like you just talk about who lives in your house. Yeah. And I remember when I would hear people be like, "Oh yeah, my mom and dad live there." I'd be like, "Where's your grandma?"
Actually said, something is wrong.
It was weird for me because I was always around all of my grandparents. I was always around like my great granddad on my dad's side. Like they lived in Peoria, but we would always go there. And like, and he passed away when he was, I think, like 102. Oh wow. And so like, and then my grandma on my dad's side, they only live like 2 blocks from us. Oh wow. So people family who would be like, vibes, girl, you want to talk about a compound? Like, because our house was on one part of this street, And then 2 houses down was my auntie. And then across the street was my godmom. And then next to her was my other godmom. Like on our block alone, at least 7 houses were either like my family, godparents, cousins.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. All in the middle.
I love that. So you grew up in the house with your great grandma, your grandma, your mom.
Yeah.
And you, and then you had a sister. She grew up with your dad.
So my dad, who is amazing. Like when I say I love my dad so much, he's the absolute best. And so the way that him and my mom, they knew each other from the neighborhood, and they like he was like the kind of class clown. He was the one who was like always just like saying something funny and loud, and my mom was just like, oh my God, like he is irritating. I'm an intellectual. Blah, blah, blah. And what happened is like I think I think she said she was graduating from high school, and like she saw him like on his bike down the block, and she was like, ugh, and then she was like, oh, and it was like,
why does it always happen that way?
And so like they started dating and everything like that, and then like they were together for a long time, like in a relationship, I think almost like 5-6 years.
Wow.
And then my mom was plan was to never get pregnant. She was just going to travel the world.
Surprise.
She was going to travel the world and write and be a film producer. And so, she got pregnant with me and stuff. And then, but she found out she was pregnant with me like a month after they broke up.
Oh no.
Yeah. Like the breakup was already in the works. So then like, my dad after that, so my sister's mom, he met, I think he said he met her at like, he was taking like night school classes because my dad just like he's a learner,
a conversation
so he just likes to just be like, oh yeah, by the way, I took this class. So he met her there, and then they had my little sister. So my little sister lived with her mom.
Okay.
And then like my dad was just at his house.
Nah, he was just at his house.
And so yeah.
Yeah. Did you always have a close a close relationship with your dad, or did that take time to develop? Like, did you go over or? Yeah.
So like, I feel like this is I don't know if people still do this. Like, I don't know how the family system works now, but like it was a very much like I would go over his house every other weekend.
Okay, yeah.
So like Fridays.
That's still a thing.
Okay.
That's still a thing.
I don't know how
visitation rights.
Visitation rights. But I feel like they never
it wasn't that, but like there was routine of like you go on the weekend,
right,
you come back during the week. Yeah, that's
and so the way that the house is set up at my grandma's house on my dad's side is that it's an entire like 3-story house. And my grandma stayed on the first floor, and then my dad stayed on the first floor, and then my grandma stayed on the second floor.
Okay.
So when I'd go over to be with him, I'd be with her and my aunt who stayed with my grandma too. So like I loved it because when you're growing up, sometimes you're just used to like your environment. So anything outside of your environment is like, this is great. But my dad was always very consistent, like very, I'm probably going to get emotional and cry because like he's probably one of the most consistent people I know.
Wow. Yeah.
From like things of just like, if, he couldn't see me just because, him and my mom had, their own things going on. So sometimes my mom was like, nope, you not about to. And when I was younger, I used to think like, girl, you doing the most. But then you get older and you realize people just be.
You're trying to survive.
Girl, it's like this man broke your heart and then you found out you was pregnant and then all this other stuff going.
Yeah.
But like even the times where like if it was a weekend I couldn't come over, like it would always be consistent things no matter what. Probably till maybe my freshman or sophomore year of high school. Every year on my birthday, we had a thing where he would pick me up from school early. We'd go to Toys R Us on the west side. And we'd pick one toy, and I wasn't like a big toy kid, but just like
this makes sense.
I like to experience things with people. Like that's what I love. And we pick one toy, and then we go to the elote man because he'd always be on the corner outside of Toys R Us, and then we'd sit in the car, eat our elotes. Like like things he would never like diverge from.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of that in my childhood of just like. He was consistent. Like he didn't, I've never heard him ever speak crazy of my mom. Ever.
Wow.
Ever.
That's honorable.
Ever.
That's so honorable.
And again, as I've gotten older, I understand. But my father has been put in some situations that would make you want to say some things.
Yeah.
And he hasn't. And so like when I say I love that man, I will fight a cloud and believe that I could win. A cloud that like can't do nothing. Just there's no winning in that, right? Yeah. But I literally like I love that man.
Praise God.
So much.
Oh.
Shout out to Darius.
Praise God for Darius. We love you if you're out there. Well, you are out there.
He is.
I don't know why. I said that and immediately felt like I was in space and like got disconnected from my like home base.
Maybe
anyway,
it was the cloud statement.
Probably.
But the thought of like, how do you fight a cloud?
Sometimes my brain takes things so literally and I'll be like, no, that's not what they mean. That's not what they mean.
But no, really, how would they fight the cloud if it's made out of...
Literally, that's how my brain works. It's really bad. That's amazing, though, that you had that connection still and that consistency with your father, because I think a lot of people don't always get that opportunity to have that. And so to have that connection with both of your parents is great. So that's like your childhood. Grew up with your great-grandma, your grandma, your mom. Got to be with your dad. And at what point did you start spending time, going down your family tree with your sister? Like, how did that come into the mix for you?
So I can literally tell you, girl. So again, Mr. Consistent, me and my dad. I used to do ballet, so he'd always take me. Like him, and my mom would switch sometimes. But I used to I just love experiences with people. Yeah. And so whenever he would take me to ballet, like we'd always go to Dunkin' Donuts, get some donut holes. Like we always had a set thing, right? And I can't remember if we were driving to ballet or if we were driving from ballet, but we were on the expressway. And I remember he pulled the car over like to the side and we sat there. And then I remember he like sat me on like the car. And then like we were and he was like, well, you got a little sister. And we get in the car. And I was 7. Wow. And I was like, what? And so I just remember like the first time I met her, like we went over to her house and she's like in this little playpen thing. And I was just like, okay, what does this have to do with me?
Oh, like, no.
I am not understanding.
You did not make the connection.
I was like, all right. And then like the Saturdays that he would get me, he would then get her.
Oh, yeah.
And so then like after a few, I was like, we're at this people's house very frequently. But then I started associating it with food because my dad being my dad. There was this, was it Captain Hard Times? I want to say it was.
This
Captain
was the
Hard
name
Times.
of a restaurant?
Girl, yes.
Captain Hard
It was on the South Side because my little sister is from the South Side.
Yikes.
Baby, it was some of the best. Like, I really want to say I think it was Captain Hard Times. But either way, it was like this little fish restaurant where we'd always get fish. So whenever I saw the restaurant, I was like, we're getting close to picking up that girl. Because that's the only context.
It's crazy that you did not. How long did it take before you connected the two?
I feel like I finally started being like, oh, she is like she's mine kind of sort of ish, right? Yeah. I feel like when she was closer to like a year old, because like she would be at my grandma's house and then like we would change her. And then like I started seeing like things of like, oh, we got to be responsible for what happens with her. And my little sister, she's still the same way. She would just stare. She was a very monotone baby. Like she was like smile and stuff every now and again. But from that is where I'd be like, oh, we got to do stuff to do. And I'm a part of us doing things to make sure like she doesn't like, because again, context, I'm not used to being around
other kids,
baby. So I don't know how any of this works.
Yeah.
And so, like that's from where it would start, which even me thinking about that, like that's very smart of my dad to be like.
He's very intentional because like, I mean, maybe it's just nowadays people that have multiple children with different
women. People.
It's like, I gotta go see so-and-so.
Right.
For a few hours. I'm gonna do something with them.
Right.
And then another day I'll do something with, my other child. And like, I do know people, I guess, that like try to get their kids together.
Right.
I think everyone is not afforded the opportunity, depending on what the situation is. But also everyone does not always have that level of intentionality.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like there is a purposeful, and I think it could be dependent on whatever the situation is or the circumstances. There has to be separation. But I know a lot of times, I think deep down it is people's desire for all their kids to be together.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have kids, but from what I've seen, right? So that is really great on your dad today. He was intentional about like, I'm going to make sure the girls are together, that they know each other. Yeah. Meanwhile, Ahsley is like, who's this baby? Why are we being responsible for her?
Like,
we must be closer to seeing that girl.
And I'm like, what? It literally when I tell you, every time I would see this restaurant, and I'm seeing the colors now, which is making me think that it's not. I don't think it is Captain Hard Times because the colors are like teal and orange.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
It is a fish place. I can't think of the name of it.
And it was like off of 70
Docks.
Yes. But literally, so whenever I would see that, I'm like, we're going to get the girl.
That's crazy.
So yeah, like he was again. That's super smart because again, when I would come over there, it was me, my dad, my grandma, so his mom, and my aunt. So everybody.
Again, all adults. Yeah. In that process between like your dad and like his side of the family, your mom and her side of the family, did you guys ever go to church or like what was the faith aspect of your family? Was it like we don't believe in anything or we do believe? What was that like for you growing up?
So my dad went to the same church as my family on my mom's side.
Okay.
My grandma and my aunt went to, and they still go to I forgot the full name, but it's like an Episcopal Black something, but they are Black power.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
And Jesus. You just put them together.
Yeah.
So my dad went to the church that all of my mom's side went to, which was on the west side, which was a block away from our house.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, oh, this is just very interesting. Just like kind of putting all these pieces together. Of like everything was very
close-knit,
close
like
for
close
me.
By, yeah.
So they went to church. My dad was a deacon. My mom sang in the choir. All my aunts sang in the choir, which is. I have 3 aunts, and they are all very different ends of the spectrum. My mom is the youngest. Then there's my aunt Cook, who is the soft, emotional crier. Like when she's the one who sees you, and she's like, baby. And she's like, she'll just hug you. And then there's my auntie Shirley, who is like 5'1" and ready to fight at all times.
I have an aunt like that.
And like they were all in the choir.
Yeah.
Well, my mom and my auntie Shirley was Cook. She was a Sunday school teacher.
Okay. Yeah.
And so
tracks.
Listen, okay. And then I used to be mad because going to church, like she only taught a certain age.
Oh, so you couldn't be in her class.
So I only had her for like 2 years, and I was like, bruh, the rest of this stuff. So yeah, and then my grandma, she was like head usher board and a mother.
Was she on the mother's board?
She was on the mother's board.
They were
which
all
were my
white.
best. All those people were my best friends because they were the ones who I hang out with.
You guys were over yesterday.
So it's funny funny when people talk about, like mean mothers boards and stuff like that. I'm like,
you're like, I can't relate.
Those are my people. They were.
Did you go with your grandma? Did your church have like Saturday morning prayer?
So
you know what I'm talking about, like the old fashioned.
They more than
Terry
likely
until he comes.
Now they were not from the times that I was there. They were not a Terry church.
Okay,
it was a Baptist church. So of course, like my family was like super involved in everything, and we go every Sunday. But I know that my grandmother would pray with a lot of the women frequently in different spaces and stuff.
But it
like
wasn't
that.
like a
Oh yeah, it was very like have a what do you call it? What's the opening thing that you do with the deacons?
Invocation?
Like the deacons, like
I don't know.
It's the opposite of a benediction.
I couldn't tell you. Remember. I grew up at a mega church in Northwest Indiana.
Yeah.
There was no deacon board.
There was no deacon.
There were no deacons.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
This church.
We had elders, a few associate pastors.
The church I grew up in was very like, probably consistently like 200 people.
Okay. Yeah.
Very old school of like, in the sense of like.
Church was kind of.
Like you walk into the church, there's a middle aisle. Yep. That's it. And then you got pews on the left, pews on the right. You looking straight ahead, and it's the or the little
pulpit.
The pulpit, right, with all the chairs, and then the choir stand behind it. So yeah, but it was very like service was 7 hours.
Oh yeah.
Like service started at 8 o'clock.
Do you guys have a night service?
And then started. We had
evening service starts at
service would end at 3. Then we'd have afternoon service where it would be like a guest speaker or like a musical. And then because who sings? My mom sings.
Yeah.
So then if she's there, I'm there because it was. And then
church all day.
And I'd be like, "What are y'all? Why are we here?" Home. So I would just make lists on the bulletins of like, okay, we got past this part. This is the next thing.
Oh
until
you reach the end. So, outside of going to church, was faith something that your family lived out Monday through Saturday?
This is really, like, I really hope like this is very. I feel a little bit like I'm on a therapist couch right now. So. For my grandma, I would say yes. Mm-hmm. Like even kind of just thinking about it, especially like this place I'm in right now. Mm-hmm. Oh man, oh boy, it's gonna get. Boy, we're getting emotional. But she lived like free.
That's good.
Like she was very free. She was like she knew God. Like she knew Him.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, it's as if like her scent carried him, like that's that good. Type of closeness. And it's, she was not, oh man, the Joy podcast is Joy in the Morning is half therapy. Because like my grandma was not walking around the house like speaking in, this is really doing something. She was not walking around the house like speaking in tongues, laying in hand. Like it
was just in how she lived.
She lived a very faithful life of like, she was kind to people. She was caring. She was sincere. The thing I very much remember, because I would just like, because we all lived in the same house, like I just sleep in her room with her majority of the time. So I'm like, why not? And it was very like, before we go to bed, we do prayers.
Yeah.
And I remember one time, I think I like fell asleep or something, and I remember her praying, and she was praying over me.
Yes.
And again, it was no deep.
Yeah, yeah.
She literally was having a conversation.
Praise God.
She was having a conversation with God about me. And so that was life. My mom is an amazing woman.
Clearly it was a different story. It's not that the tears dried up, but your demeanor went from like, it's like you could looking at you talk about that was like you could see your grandma's life and the God in it. Then I could tell when your mind track changed to your mom, and it was
boy.
Contrast.
She was an amazing woman. I just think she had a lot of stuff to do that it was like, I don't got time to be. But, and my great grandma went to a different church on the north side that she had been at since she came to Chicago in like 1921. So she was like,
older people have this sense of loyalty,
baby,
to churches.
Loyal.
And it is admirable. Sometimes a little wild because it's like you might need to leave there. Like, I mean, follow God.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like, are you following God or are you just there because you've been there since you were born? And
right. Which is easy because it's like, we're not going to rabbit trail because we could do this all day. But like my great grandma literally came from Mississippi to Chicago.
Oh, so that's probably like where she found a sense of family.
Right, exactly. And she literally came with my grandma, and that was the first place that she ended. So she was like, literally, until the day that we said ashes to ashes and dust to dust, that baby was there.
Yeah.
But and my mom...
That's fine. It's just interesting because like now the culture is so different and people are like, yeah, I started there, but I can't stay here. I'm like,
I won't get started.
Wait. But anyway, so your mom.
But yeah, my mom, I think she just had a lot to do, fam. Like she had me when she was 29. Mm-hmm. You got this kid who, again, that was not the plan. Mm-hmm. Like, and then you're like living at home with your mom and your grandma. Yeah. And trying to figure out like your life, your identity, But I can say that she knows, God, because when I was, when you're pregnant and everything like that. So when my mom was pregnant, they do, all the tests to make sure the baby's good, And they saw that there was something wrong with me, but they couldn't tell exactly what it was. And at that time, like she was far enough along where they were like, listen, this could possibly, like having this baby could possibly take your life.
Wow.
And so like, we're gonna put just the option in front of you that if you do want to terminate this pregnancy, just because
of what it could do,
like you can. And she said that she remembered like on her way home, she was kind of just thinking about everything. And she literally felt like God told her, keep the baby and I'll take care of you and the baby.
That's so good.
And obviously
here you are. Not to sidetrack us, I'm known to do that. It reminds me of when my older brother was born. He's 15 months older than me. They saw that something was, I think it was just like a really rough pregnancy. My mom was having a hard time. I think they saw something could go wrong. And so she was on bed rest for a long time. And in one of his ultrasound photos, you see him, but there's a face in there looking at him. And my mom, because, my mom, woman of faith, again, by this time, you would have heard her episode. And she, I remember her talking about how, like, she was praying and everything, and she believed that's, like, his guardian angel. And, like, all growing up, she would talk about just, like, a guardian angel over him and, like, how she knew that, like, he was marked for God. And he was born very gifted, like, he could play the drums like out of the womb. Like he got his first drum set at 3 and could play the drums. It wasn't like, you get a kid drum set at 6 and like,
and they're like, he's like, no.
Like he's like, could keep a beat, crazy. So it's like, I think that's always such a special experience when they're like, when you're facing that type of like opposition or like, hey, something can go wrong with this life growing inside of you. And there's that like, way of just like leaning on God to take care of it, because it's like literally there's nothing you can do,
literally,
and it's not like you did anything for your body to you know what I mean. And so I think that's so special, and I think that's a part of what makes you so special.
Oh, joy, we just spent it. The tears just got a good drying.
Well, just let them keep falling. But it's true. I think like when I don't discount prayer at all, and I think that like prayer has lifelong lasting effects. And so I think when you are from the womb, like prayed for and put into like, just like that spiritual atmosphere, like
Well, I have a fun story to tell you. This
is
kind of just very, again, saying all of this is very interesting in the context of where I am right now.
Yeah.
Because another part of me being around older people all the time. So like when I was born, my grandma was still working. She used to work for, she was a 911 dispatcher.
Okay.
And she worked there for like 40 years.
Yeah.
And then my mom, she had a full-time job. And my great-grandma was very capable of, but we had 2 dogs. And she was like, I'm not about to try and watch 2 dogs. And she had no problem doing it, right? But on a day my mom was walking home, there was this woman sitting at her window. And I'll do the story backwards, but pretty much there was a woman who used to watch me when I was younger.
Okay.
Her name was Mama. That's what I used to call her, Mama. And so I went to see her probably at this point now. It's been like 10 years ago, because she told somebody, I need Ashley come see me before I die. Again, older people.
I love when they like respectfully, when they know, they're like, I ain't got much longer.
Baby, we ain't got to play around with this.
Yeah.
So we're just like talking and catching up. And it's like so nice being in her house, because I'm like, oh my God. Like it's literally like she took care of me from the time, probably like she was my babysitter during the day, from the time I had to be like months old till I was like probably 4, until I started like preschool, like 4 or 5. And so it was nice being there and seeing, we're catching up. And she's like, oh, did I ever tell you about the way that I became your babysitter? And I was like, no, I just thought, because her daughter was like best friends with my aunt. Like it was like, oh, okay, cool. She was like, no, she's like, I was sitting outside. She was like, I was sitting in my window one day, and she was like, and I saw your mama walking down the street. And I was like, oh, she was like, and the Holy Spirit told me like she's pregnant. And my mom wasn't showing or anything.
And she did not know your mom, or she did know your mom?
Like she knew her in the sense of like family friend, but my mom was not out here either.
Yeah.
Like very happily proclaiming
that she was
pregnant. Especially by my dad at the time.
Yeah.
So she, like, my mom wasn't showing or anything like that. I think my mom was like maybe 3 months, if even. And the Holy Spirit, she was like, the Holy Spirit told me she's pregnant and you're going to be responsible for watching the baby.
Wow.
And so she said, like, she left the house and walked outside and was like,
I love the boldness.
I know you're pregnant, but I'm letting you know, I'll watch the baby for you for free. Like, don't worry about it. And so you just kind of talking about like all of and Mama was a woman she went to church but she gave me the space. And again, Mama, when she was watching me, had to be in her 70s, if not early 80s. She gave me the space to explore and create. And like, it would literally just be me and Mama all day. And she like, like I would draw under her table. And after the 3rd time of her telling me not to, she just got a different table. And was like, okay, you'll just draw into that one, So you saying that about like, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
That's another little.
He knew. He knew. And from early on, you were cared for by God.
Oh,
That's
boy.
Amazing.
Oh, boy.
Well, you keep mentioning where I am now.
Yeah.
Where are you now? Usually I ask, how are you introduced to faith? But let's talk about where you are now, and we'll follow in the fashion of telling the story backwards.
Yeah. So I'm in a place right now where I've been 23 days sober. No, I think today does make 23 days though, of this, I don't want to call it a journey. That sounds very podcasty, of just where I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably at this point, maybe like a month or so ago, I was in church and sitting between 2 of my very bestest of friends, Abby and Joy.
Oh.
And
me anticipating finding out who these people are. I was like,
and the only reason that Christine was not on that road, because she was like serving the
camping.
children.
Oh, I thought that was her camping weekend.
Maybe it was her camping. No. I felt like I texted her because that was the week I was like, oh my gosh, we're all actually in service together. We could sit together.
Yeah, she was with the kids.
She was serving the children. And, service is happening. And I just love sitting next to my friends.
It's true.
It's really great because you just get to be, right? So I'm just happy. I'm like, this is great. This is awesome. And so Pastor Ken is teaching, and he's teaching on unbelief. and he's teaching from Mark
9. Oh, yes.
He's teaching from Mark 9.
Passage.
And, when we go backwards, this part will probably make a little more sense, but I've heard this passage probably 10 million times, right?
Yeah.
About, the man, and he's asking Jesus to heal his son. And, he says, I believe, but help my unbelief, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm listening. I was like, oh, great. And Pastor Kent goes, what happened was that the man, in him asking Jesus to heal his son, was reaching for something that he thought was there, and it wasn't. And at this point, I'm bawling. Like, from that sentence on, it was as if, like, PK was probably talking underwater. Because it felt like a wave that had been waiting to come through something for 2 years, that had been backed up, just was like, like, I was crying, like,
it was like,
I just got broken up with.
You know when you sit next to somebody and all you hear is...
No, literally.
Literally, that's what it was like. I'm just sitting there taking notes like, oh, this is good. Yes, come on. And I just keep looking over because all I hear is... And I look over a couple times, check in, make sure you're okay. Girl. And you're just like dabbing your eyes with this piece of tissue and you're like shaking your head and you're just like, And
it's not that like, oh my gosh, it's like, like,
yeah,
it's like
the struggle cry noises. No. Yeah.
And so I'm just like, oh, like, I'm like, okay.
What's happening to me?
Something is obviously happening here, and then I remember, I got in the car with, someone that is profound counsel to me. And I was like, when PK said that, I was like, I think what it is though, is just that, I'm in a place of like needing to believe really larger for our church. So that's probably what I'm feeling, get brushed up against. Woo! Awesome. Great. Go on with my day. Mind you, maybe a week or so before, Joy had been like, hey, like, could we get some time to like catch up? And in my head, I was low-key hoping that Joy forgot. Because I was like, man, Joy probably about to check me on something. And I am not in a place of like, this is what you did wrong. And mind you, Joy never has done that before.
Ever.
But I'm like, I'm like, oh God. But I never,
it's crazy.
I would never turn down a Joy opportunity because I love Joy so much. And it's not just because like she's a great person. It's like, oh no, like having Joy as a sister and a friend these last 2 years has genuinely given me something that my life did not know that it needed.
Wow.
And so every chance that I get
Jesus.
to spend with Joy, I'm like, yes, it's happening. I don't care. So I was like, all right. And so like, I think we had originally said it was going to be on a Sunday, and Joy didn't say nothing. It's coming up on Sunday. And normally we're very much like, oh, okay, see you tomorrow. Da, 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 da. And I was like, Joy ain't said nothing. I was like, she probably forgot. And then it's like 3:00. And I was like, ooh, she probably forgot. And then it was like 4:00. And Joy texted me like, hey, you want to like meet at your house and go for a walk?
I was very intentional. I knew what I wanted to talk to you about. I had been praying because we hung out a couple weeks before on that Monday. And I already kind of had this sense that like Ahsley is not being Ahsley and I need to know why. But I'm not like pushy. I used to be, not going to lie, and be like, tell me what's wrong. Not that aggressive, but I kind of used to be like, so what's going on? Yeah. But praise God for growth and discernment. And I was like, at that time I knew like, that's not the time to talk about it.
Oh God, I would have
that Sunday.
Oh my God.
That Sunday, I knew. I was like, we have not I, but we, meaning me, you, and God, have to get to the bottom of whatever's going on in Ashley's heart.
Yeah.
And so I knew. I was like, we're gonna talk about this.
Joy was like, oh, let's meet because I remember, I think I fell asleep because I remember that like I looked up and Joy was like, hey, I'm at the place. And I was like, but thankfully the place was only like 5 minutes from my house. Yeah. So I'm like walking and I'm just like, okay, all right, cool. So it's like this gelato place, which really helped to kind of like, the gelato place set the scene because it it brought my guards down that I didn't know that needed to be brought down because the gelato was so fire.
Oh, so good.
And I have a dairy allergy, and normally sometimes that means you only have like 2 options. It was like 7 options. I digress.
If you live in Chicago and you want to know where this place is,
we go.
Hit me up.
You know, we're kind of catching up, and I'm very much like, all right, cool. It's going to be great. We're just going to hang out. It'll be awesome. And then I'll go back home into my home. And we have the gelato, and me and Joy always like walk. So that's not different. Like we will just walk and be on the whole different side of the city or whatever. And so she was like, yeah, let's walk. And I was like, perfect. Awesome. Great. We're going to walk. And I don't remember what the first question Joy asked me was, because I think this was around the time where I was definitely going through everything of like finishing up my broker's exam. So like those type of questions. But I don't remember what the first question was that Joy asked me. And for me, it was very different because we walked down a street that normally we don't walk all the way down. And it was just this very like steady walk, right? Whatever the first question was that Joy asked me, the walls and the tears came tumbling down. And I just remember Joy being like, yeah, because the big thing that really just, Joy was like, yeah, it feels like, I know you're in this, she's like, it's obvious you're in this like evolving space. Mm. And she said, it feels like, like a butterfly, which for
Ashley doesn't like butterflies.
I'm terrified of butterflies. Yeah. I'm terrified of butterflies. So for this butterfly to be the thing that is used is whatever. So she's like, yeah, if, like a butterfly, metamorphoses and all that stuff, and they're in their cocoon, and then they come out and they're like, wow, I'm out of my cocoon. This is great. And she's like, and they're with all the other butterflies. She's like, it feels like you are doing it in your own cocoon, and then you go off and fly on your own, and then you evolve and metamorphose on your own, and then you come and you're with the other butterflies, and they're like, oh, how was it? You're like, it's great. Everything's great. It's great. And then you go off on your own. And I think that's where a lot of your loneliness comes from. And I, with this handful of gelato,
that had turned into
soup gelato because they give you so much. I literally we're walking down the street, and I'm like a gelato in my hand with tears, like not like a slow, no, like rivers.
Streaming. Yeah.
Rivers. And it's just like from there, Joy is just like, yo, like it just feels like, you're kind of by yourself. And like, this is where that lonely, and like her saying those exact words, because I didn't know how to say what I was feeling, but like, that's exactly what I felt. I felt very lonely. I felt very much like I'm by myself. Like I felt very much like, okay, I go be with everybody, and I have to go evolve and cocoon by myself. And then I come back and get with everyone. And that was like the beginning of
the unraveling.
The unraveling, yo. That day means so much to me because, again, us hanging out for a long time is not unfamiliar or uncommon, but Joy just let me sit and be. And like, just let me sit with how I was feeling. She let me answer my questions slowly. Like, sometimes I can feel like I feel rushed by people. Like, they want to check in, but they got something else to do. So we gotta, so I'm very always thinking, used to, always be like, all right, well, I'm not gonna have no time with this so-and-so because they gonna have to get to the next thing. And so I just need to do it. But like, just sat. And so at first I was like, oh, okay, wow, this is something. This unbelief, thing at church, and then talking with Joy. And for me, I was like, oh, okay. This is probably like, okay, I feel very much like I need to just start letting people in more to who I am. And like,
and we had talked about that too.
All these things, because like, that was like a big premise of like, what we were talking about. And I was like, okay, all right, cool.
This is step one.
I was like, great. Wow, awesome. That's going to be the big thing.
Yeah.
And then the week goes on, And because now I'm like, oh, I'm being more open. I'm just going to like just be more of letting people into my life, all the spaces. Because it very much would be like, okay, I'll give this person what I feel like they can handle. I'll give this person because I don't know if da-da-da. I'm like, great. I'm just going to say all the things that are kind of on my mind. Da-da-da. And I'm telling Joy, we're talking, and I was like, oh, yeah, Joy, I forgot. Like, I had this dream. And I was like, yeah, it's very weird because, like, for the last probably 7-8 years, I've had a very consistent dream where, in one way or another, I am showing up at my wedding and things are either chaotic or random. But either way, no matter what the setting, I don't know who I'm marrying. And everybody's just happy. And they're like, woo! And I'm like, why is everybody like fine with this?
What are you guys excited for?
Y'all don't know who guys, I don't know. And it's not even I see a face and that's Jim. I don't know Jim. No, it could be anybody. And I have no idea who this person is. And so I tell Joy, I'm like, girl, I had this dream. I'm like, girl, I had this dream. I've had this dream literally consistently for 7 years. And in each way it changes, like the background or whatever. I was like, but this time in this dream, it's the most in place everything has been. Normally it's been chaotic stuff from like one time I was in one of the dreams, it opens up where I'm in the jewels on Ahsley. And I have a basket in my hand, like going through the aisles. And then like this girl comes out like, you getting married? And she has like a bottle in her hand. And then like there's this other guy like, yup, you getting married, girl. And I'm like, who are these people? And they're like rushing me into this limo. Wow. So it's always like something, or like there was one time I was like literally in like a robe and rollers, and like people are putting up decorations as I'm about to go down the aisle. And I'm like, what is whatever? So in this one, I was like, yeah, Joy, in the dream, like I'm actually at I meet my bridal party. Like we were getting ready. Like I saw like the pictures of the invitation, and like, you know, I even saw the groomsmen like across the street, all that. And then we actually went to the actual venue, and it was a real venue. And it's this like large, very not how I would actually want my wedding to be, because it was very just like at a space. But like it was this very like opulent venue, and like the people had on dresses, and I was like, but yeah, Joy, I'm like, the thing is that like this time in the dream, everything was in place except for like two little things where like my makeup wasn't done and my hair wasn't done. And I was like, oh, well, I'll probably just do my hair, you know, and I'll do my makeup, which is a little weird for your wedding day to just be like, I got it, right? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, Joy, you know, like, and then like there's this happened and this, and I'm telling her all these pieces of the dream. And she was like, oh. And she was like, well, it kind of, and again, I've had this dream consistently multiple times for the last 7 years. Yeah. So I've looked at this dream every which way or whatever. Yeah. And she was like, like maybe, she's like, it kind of sounds like the dream is talking to certain parts of like you and where you are in your life. And I was like, that's striking a chord. I'm feeling something in my heart when you say that. Yeah. And she was like, kind of feels like the groom, you know, might represent something. And it's like, while she's saying it already in my head, I was like, fam, I feel like I already know that what this could possibly be is what it is. And it was like, yeah, that the groom is God. And I literally had this feeling probably one of the first times I had the dream, like 7 years ago. And I was like, nah, it's all talking about actual marriage. And that like, because one of the first dreams was whatever, but it really hit me of like, no, all of that is right. I don't know God. I don't know him. I don't know him. And it was like literally the quietest, still, like stillness that I've ever sat in. And not like a peaceful stillness, like a very much reality, like
reality's hit. And now I'm like sitting here with these facts.
And I'm like, I don't know God. I came into relationship with Jesus when I was 19. After like not going to church, I very much despised Christians. I thought they were weird. I made fun of them. My friends knew.
Modern day Paul. Just kidding.
But my friends knew, like in high school, like, oh, you want to get a good joke about somebody who's a Christian? Go to Ahsley. And I would just like, right, go ham about Christians. So it was like 19 after like a big breakup, right? Give my life to like get into a relationship with Jesus. It's my first actual church. And I really just dove deep in. And so for the last like 14 years, like Jesus has been very much, I thought, crucial and center to my life. Like I've led ministries. I've, like all the things, right? Been on church staffs, like been in some miraculous space, like literally seen someone die and then
and
we prayed and then like right. And so I'm sitting with it and I'm like, no, I don't know him.
Wow.
I don't know him.
Wow.
I don't know him.
Which it reminds me of that verse in the Bible. I'm struggling to think of the address. It'll be in the show notes. But where it talks about they will cast out demons and heal and do all these things in my name. And you will get to heaven and he will say like, depart from me, I never knew you.
I literally on that day when I was kind of sitting there, I was like, yep, that's it. That's because that's what would have happened. Like and it's not even about a like heaven or hell thing, right? In the sense, now, hell is a real place. Again, there's a lot of things right now I don't know. Okay, but it's not about you get to go to the left or go to the right. It's the fact of literally my life. I did all this stuff, seen all these whatevers, right? And I don't know God. And so I was like, well, and it felt freeing because it felt like that was kind of like this, like it felt like that was always what was in me and in my head and in my heart, but I didn't know how to say it.
You didn't have language for it.
I didn't have language for it. Like it just kind of was like a very like slow little song just playing just like softly and then just got louder and louder. And then in the middle of a service, I broke down crying. Irrationally, like
I have unbelief because I don't know.
Like him. You know, like for people who've been in church situations, like the person who's crying during announcements, and it's like a hysterical cry, but it's not a hysterical enough to be like, oh, an emergency. But it's like, that was.
Are you okay? Yeah.
You know, so it really was like the honesty of I don't know him. I can tell you things about him. I can tell you ideas around him. Yeah. I can tell you different verses in the Bible.
Yeah. But I don't know him.
I don't know him. And so because I had that conversation, right, with Joy earlier in that week of like, yo, and Joy literally did not say it. And it's my aggressive West Side-ness that's making it, like, Jesus. Joy's was very like, like, and, people love you and they care about you. Yeah. The way it just translated, right? I was like, yo, you need to be around you need to be open with the people who love you. So I was like, the first thing automatically I felt was like, I need to open this up to the people who are super close to me.
Yeah.
Because I just found out I don't know God.
Yeah.
So
I remember us talking about that and I was like, one of your mentors, I was like, you should talk to her. And you were like, yeah. And I was like, you should tell her everything. And you were like, oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, literally. And because I kind of was in this place of like, okay, no, I really felt like after that conversation I had with Joy of like, normally, because I can be one who be like, sure. And I'm not doing that. That's what I say in my head.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, yes, I'm going to say yes to appease people. Yeah. But in my head, I'm like, no, because they don't know, because I can't trust them, because how I know that they not trying to like send me off and how they not. Yeah. All of that. Just so tiresome, right? To be playing in your head, to be on this side, right?
Yeah.
And hearing it. And so, like, I was like, okay, I'm inviting everyone into this.
Yeah.
And so I literally, I text one of my mentors and my sister, and I was like, hey, can we get a check-in time? And I was very honest in the sense of, I texted him, I was like, I'm going to need an hour. Normally I would have been like, hey, check in. I was like, no. I need an hour. And so I just, we got to sit down. I told her everything. I was like, fam. Yeah. And it wasn't just about, the unbelief, but it was like all these other things that were going on in my life that only people knew pockets of. Yeah, right. Yeah. And I just laid everything out in front of her. Every single thing. And it was funny because she was like, I always knew there were secrets.
And it's so funny because if you know her, she's just very much like, wow, yeah. Then she's like, yeah, I kind of knew. Yeah. And you're just like, well.
Like, wow. And I thought I was out here doing a good job. And I think that's the crazy part too, is like, I really thought I was out here doing a really great job of like performing and showing. Yeah. And for like Joy to be like, hey, let's get some time. And then for like my mentor to be like, I always knew that there were secrets. So I just told her everything, and I was like, I don't know God. I had, and I knew there were things that in my heart I wanted, right? I knew that even before this, I felt a very strong, I felt that I wanted to, and that it was going to be very important for me to start reading the word every day. Before even kind of getting on I kept feeling like, this needs to happen, right? And I knew that this was something that I was not feeling like, oh, we need to remedy this in a day.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I was like, no, I feel like I need to
walk this out.
I need to wrestle with this, and I'm not going to be content unless I wrestle with this, and not for the sake of effort, but for the sake of like, do you realize I don't know God
out of it? Yeah.
Okay. And I just knew that I just wanted to know God. Like I don't want to know a cliche. Yeah. I don't want to watch a 3-part sermon on how to what, like, I want to know him based on what the word says. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. It's like when you eat junk food for a long time and you need a real meal. It's like, I cannot take the frozen dinner that I follow step one by peeling back the film, and then I put it in the microwave for this long, and then I allow it to cool for 3 minutes. Like, I need a home cooked, like balanced meal with vegetables that's going to feed my soul. And it's like your heart and your spirit were calling out for this authenticity that you had in a like artificial version of for so long, that it was like, oh no, like I need the real thing.
I mean, when you say artificial, like the way I kept seeing it in my mind was that I was looking to the left, right? Mm-hmm. And on the left is this beautiful, bright gold, sequined, glowing image. And he's like 7 foot, 8 foot figure. And it's like light around him. And it's like, oh, that's God. Yeah. That's God. When in reality, if I look to my right, there's like a 3 foot little boy who's just really kind. Not that God is a little boy.
But yeah.
But like the stark contrast.
It's like, it's not this like, I mean, he's majestic, but it's not this like big, shiny, like impressive thing. It's like, here's this like someone just like me that's going to walk with me and love me and be kind to me and like be with me.
Like he just is.
Yeah.
Like he just exists.
The one that is.
Like it's not this big, like it's just the thing that you went your whole, because again, when I gave my life, when I said I was going to be in a relationship with Jesus, I literally gave my entire life to it. Like I changed everything about everything. Joy has heard some of my crazy zealous stories of the things that I used to do that I thought was in the name of Jesus, that God figured it out, but it was crazy, right? So it's like this whole thing that I literally changed my whole life, built everything on, is not what it actually is. And so I had to invite people in, and I was like, I'm tired. Like I'm tired of faking. I'm tired of performing. I'm tired of showing up, acting like I know more than what I know when I actually don't know. Right? Like it's the thing of like, if I told you something, you're hearing it from me. You don't know it because you just went to know it. Right? So I was just like, I literally just sped it all out to her, and she was like, okay. And I wasn't really going in for instruction in the sense of like, okay, what do I do next? Like, it was more like I have to invite everybody into this. I
just need to be honest.
And because I know I can feel how serious isn't even a word. Like vital.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like
real, or I don't know.
Like
you felt the weight of it.
I felt the weight of it. Like, it, you know, like it's very like, like the whatever word you would say for like life or death.
Yeah.
Like
there's urgency.
Like if I don't invite y'all in, this get real weird, you know? And so she was like, okay. And to feel the love from like Joy, to feel the love from her, to feel the love from like other people that I kind of like invited in was half of like silencing so much of like the fears and anxieties that I just used to always walk in. But she was like, all right, this is what I feel. She was like, you're going to take off the next 3 Sundays from serving and you're just going to sit so you can just receive. And I automatically was like, okay. Cause I was like, what that got to do with knowing God? Like me sitting, like, I'm trying to figure out who he is. I just need to know, like, whatever. And she was like, and for the next 21 days, you know, she was like, just give them to him, you know, like don't, you know, and it wasn't anything like we're going to fast. And then from this time to this time, she was like, just really like kind of just consecrate these days to him over the next 21 days. And so I knew before even going to that conversation with her that, again, because I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know anything no more, fam.
Yeah.
I don't know if the things that I thought that I used to hear God say, was that actually him? Yeah. I don't know. How do I know what the Holy Spirit is? How do I know how prayer works? Like, I don't know nothing.
Yeah.
So, but the thing I felt, I was like, okay, what I do feel very like is that I should be reading the word every day.
Yeah.
And when I felt that, it was very much, again, in my I don't know stage. So I was like, the Ahsley who would have been like, oh, let's go to this book because this book is going to be very helpful for da-da-da. She's not here anymore.
Yeah.
She's gone.
The old years passed away.
So I was just like, okay, what lands right now? It's like, okay, that seems legit to read. And it was Exodus, which was funny because
so on brand.
When I told her, she was like, oh, well, that makes sense. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I guess it does. Because before I would have made it make sense, right? Like, I'm going to do Revelations. I'm going to do the book.
I'm going to read Romans.
I'm going to read Romans because it's going to tell me like what I need to know. I was like, fam, I don't know nothing.
I don't know anything.
What just lands? Yeah. Like, and so that's what it was. It was 21 days. And it's not like, okay, 21 days done. Now we're all done. Yeah. It was like
21 days to the beginning of the rest of my life.
It's really, no, for real. Like, so it's
21
really
days to just like help lay a foundation. And then like I can start building from here.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing you said, when you said, she was like, why don't you take 21 days, like next 3 weeks and like don't serve. And you're like, what is that going to do? But it makes me think of like when you are maybe like starting a relationship with someone and you want to get to know them. Like if you guys are going to do something and not having time to like sit down and talk and like share a meal or like commune with one another, then like it's very much like, well, I haven't had the opportunity to sit down and talk with you because we're always doing some activity, or we're working. It's like if you were getting to know someone that you work with, but like you only talk to each other when you're working and the work is like not allowing you to actually have an in-depth conversation. Yeah. It's like the importance of you not serving was like, hey, no, like you need to like sit. Like if you were going to build a relationship with someone, you just talk to them and have like in-depth conversation, and you have to let them in and they're going to let you in, and then you guys can walk together.
No, because...
And yeah, that's what that reminds me of. And I think it's like, it's been an honor and it's been so beautiful to like watch you like commit to this journey, because you very much could have just like put back on the performance and be like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then like not done any of it and just like continued to like bear these burdens on your own. But like, it's been amazing to watch you just like yield to the process and like allow people into who you are, what's really going on, and like walk with you through it, and for you to experience like actually doing life with people and not just like do life alone. And then like wave at everybody from the inside, be
really
like, hey guys,
no, it really was.
open the window for a quick conversation and like close it back up. Yeah. Like, so, I mean, honestly, it's been great. What would you say to someone that maybe is in that place where they're serving a lot, or they are on staff, or they're just like doing all these things, and they feel that sense of loneliness, and they are realizing that like they don't have the relationship with God that they thought they had? Like, what would your word of advice to them be after you've been walking through this? Or as you've been walking through this?
It's gonna sound cliche or whatever, but like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because it really is.
Yeah.
Like, let yourself feel the weight of like what you know now that you don't know.
Yeah.
You know? Because it can be easy to be scared by those feelings. Because for me, that's what it was. Again, I didn't have language for, I don't believe God because I don't know God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't believe he loves me or believe that people care about me because I don't know God.
Yeah.
And I'm not letting myself be known by people.
Yeah.
Right? And to not put up these like fear goggles of like, nope, I can't think that because da-da-da. And it kind of takes time. Like, again, like how Joy said, if Joy would have had that conversation with me just a few weeks prior at the pizza place, I would have crumbled and literally been in a corner rocking back and forth.
Wow.
The timing would have been horrible. Like, and so like, okay, now that you know that you don't know.
Yeah.
Let where you are out in the sense of like, talk to yourself in the sense of like verbally be like, oh no, like, what am I feeling? Like what, write it down or whatever. But the key thing for me, like literally, like I would have drowned because again, your world gets put upside down. 14 years out here standing, saying you're doing stuff for Jesus, doing all these things, like in large ways.
Yeah.
And it being like, you don't even know what you're talking about. Right? So it's like a big key of that is also like bringing people in because you're going to need love and you're going to need comfort.
Yes,
like one person like was just like, yo, just come stay at my house this weekend.
Yeah.
Like the first weekend that I was like, it was my first, I don't know Jesus weekend.
First weekend.
I don't know the Lord weekend. And again, in my mind, there were things that seemed trivial, but it was needed to have a space where I'm like, I don't have to worry about, oh, okay, I got to get up, straighten up my house, Just being able to stay at their place, right? Being able to just spend time with them, being in a different environment, but having people that I could let and I'm talking every thought. Yeah. I'm not like, because again, we've been a part of the life where it's like, I'm going to let people into the cute stuff and the things I want. No, like every single thing that I have a thought or a question about, I'm either texting or like calling somebody and being like, this is where I am, and being selfish.
Yeah.
Like, because they gave me the space, like Joy, like my other friends, they gave me the space to be selfish. Like normally I would go into a conversation and be like, I really want to talk about this, but I know so-and-so's going through this, so I cannot say this. Now, if somebody mama just died that morning, that's a little different, right?
Yeah. Maybe find someone else.
Find another. But because if you don't let it out, it's going to wrangle in your head.
Yeah.
And it could, like that first week, it felt very freeing and liberating. Yeah. And then there were days that was like, who am I? Yeah. Like, what does everything around me even mean anymore? There were so many things that I thought that I was doing, or, oh, okay, I want my life to look like this because this is what I feel like God is saying, or da-da-da. That now I don't even know, what does that even mean to say what God is saying? Yeah. What does it mean? Like, when I say everything was under question. Yeah. And so having just people who can help you, who can walk with you, who can comfort you, and like, just don't go in either with this like forward thinking mindset in the sense of, I'm going to do this so that, No, you're just going to do it. Just do it. Yeah. It like come into it just very open. And something that my mentor told me, she was like, allow this process to grieve.
Yeah. Like, because it is a grieving, like when the Bible talks about how the old you passed away and the new you, again, don't remember where that is. I'm going to find it and put it in the show note. It's like you have to grieve that old you because it's like if you spent so long being one person, it's not like suddenly like, whoop, new me.
No.
Who's that other person? It's like, no, I have to let go of these old ways. I have to grieve this. And then you have to learn to become. That's it. You have to learn to become.
No, you really do.
And there is no, like you said, there's no goal on the other side. Like we like to think of it that way. I'm going to become this person and then I'm going to have. And it's like, no, you have to learn to become who you are meant to be. And that takes time and that takes process. And it's not so that you can get something on the other side. No. It's just so that you can be the you that you're meant to be.
And the crazy part was because I am a person logistically, like outside of the Lord, right? Outside of church, I'm just a very wired effort person. You do this to do that. And then you do that. Like, it's a part of like just my makeup. Right. Yeah. And so a big thing with the 21 days, because I didn't know like the things that I used to do of like, I'm going to pray. I'm like, fam, what does that even mean? If I say pray, how, like, what is it that I know? Like I'm saying these words and then what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And being okay with some of that. Like to be like, oh, it doesn't mean, you know what, like that. It just is what it, fam, we are exactly where we are. Yeah. But in that, like, I literally, when I say there's been no fast, there's been no, I specifically listened to this pastor. I've been very, 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 very like big on only letting myself listen to specific things because I know right now, like I'm not trying to be influenced because I feel like that's where I kind of came out of was like, I was just influenced by the spaces that I was in.
And so then you became the
so I became that and I projected what I was influenced by and I don't want that anymore.
Wow.
Like I want to know who I am and who God is based off of what the word says. That's it.
So good. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so because of that, I haven't been doing nothing in the sense of like, I'm literally relearning. It's not even how to pray. I told Joy the other day, because I feel like a little kid. Like before I used to be like, I have just a motor of prayer, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? But when you don't know him and you're just doing it to do it or whatever, now literally it's like 12 words. And I'm like, hi. Like I think this morning I was like, it was either this morning or yesterday, I was like, I really don't know how to open these things anymore with you. So, hey, I'm really excited about where we are. And what helped, again, because I invited people, Joy was like, because for a good portion of the first 21 days, I didn't pray. Because I was like, again, I don't want to put myself in any position to do anything that not is inauthentic, but do anything that feels like I'm performing or showing just to get by. And so Joy was like, so like, have you had a conversation with him yet? And I was like, I haven't, because I don't even know how to even do that. Like, I don't even know how to get there. And Joy was like, whatever just comes to your mind, say it. Which before would have been mad stressful because I'm like, no, it needs to sound like this and it needs to do. Yeah, and I used to be the person like, it doesn't have to sound any type of way. Just say whatever. And I'm like, yes, say whatever, but you have to say it with power and you got to reach this atmosphere and you got to hit this realm and you got to da-da-da. Meanwhile, go into this 21 days where I'm not doing anything. Yeah. And the realness of feeling the closeness of God. Yeah. And not in a this transcendent way, like no, like the realness of like how real
God with me. He's sitting right here.
Like for real
on the couch.
No, like
with
for
us.
real. Yeah, like the way my leggings are on my legs right now. He's like feeling that and not feeling it in the fullness of whatever it could be or might be, but just having that right. Yeah, without presence. I haven't done anything. Yeah, for me, I was like, we could have been doing this though. Like the freedom of good. That. And like to know that like the Lord. And again, there even things that I would be like, oh God, like I'm very like, fam, I'm only, what I know is all I got.
Yeah.
And I know Exodus.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to say I know Exodus because we just finished reading it yesterday. Right.
Yeah.
But like the less effort.
It's not driven by you.
I'm not right. Like I'm not being led or driven by, I have to do this, or it has to look like this, or is this what the Lord is saying? Is this what I feel like I'm seeing in the spirit? Da-da-da. No, I'm just existing.
Yeah. And you're letting God show up.
To feel the love from y'all and to feel the love from the Lord that I am learning as I just exist. Like for real, like literally just exist.
Praise God. Praise God. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm so glad that you have found that, like that true, authentic relationship with Jesus, and not like, because sometimes like we're like, just based off of where you are, you feel like you have to perform a certain way.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I went through that. I felt like that at the church I grew up at, and I felt like I had to be all these things, which there was an element of that there. It was like, you need to be this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And then that's what got me to the place where I had just developed a relationship with the church and not with God.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
And once I had that, like actually knowing God, it changed everything. And before that, I didn't really understand when people that didn't grow up in the church would like get saved and be so like, oh my goodness, the Lord, like you don't understand. I was like, no, you're right. I don't understand.
You're like, you're absolutely right.
And I thought for the longest time also that like, oh, you have to go through something to get there. And it's like, no, actually you don't. You just have to really know Jesus, because there were people I knew that did grow up in the church and grew up in faith backgrounds, and they had that same conviction. But I was just like, how do you get that? Like, what am I missing? Like, I go to church 7 days a week. I do this and that. I'm a leader here. But I did not have an authentic relationship with God. I was not walking and talking with him every day and allowing him to transform me. I was doing all these things and hoping and thinking that it was just like racking me up like points with God till I got to the point where I would get this closeness. And it's like, that's not what it is or who he is. And if nothing else, he just wants to know you.
Like,
he just wants to know you, because the more he knows you, the more you know him, and the more you begin to look like him and act like him and sound like him. And it's nothing that you can do or manufacture to get those results.
No, that's the thing. There's nothing. Like literally the only thing that I've been doing every day, and I will be doing for until I don't want to anymore, which read the word every day for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, and not like, oh my gosh, okay, what is the word saying to read it?
Yeah.
Like that's it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the craziest part for me, is that that's all that it's been. And without any outside stimuli, without a worship playlist, without a whatever, something in me is actually changing.
Yeah.
Like legit, like it literally, right? And it's like the more I read, the more I'm like, how worthy he is of being known. Because, like, again, just being in Exodus and watching how kind he was to the children of Israel, and like the way that he would care for them and intentionally plan. And it, you know, until you read it, like until you know like things for yourself, you can only go based off of whatever you had. So I kind of, certain things I would kind of come across, and I was trying to go in very just like clear-minded. And certain things I'd come across and I'd be like, okay, nope, you're not going to go into reading the 10 Commandments based off of what you know. Yeah. Right? But it's like the more I just read and read, I literally was like, you are worthy of being known. And you're really like it built something between us. Yeah.
It reminds me of this verse in Revelations 3:20. I actually looked this one up. Be proud. And it says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock." This is Jesus speaking. "Behold, I stand at the door and knock, and if any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him, and I will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have overcame, as I am set down with my Father in his throne. Then and like every chapter in Revelation, he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit is saying unto the churches. But it's really the point of like, it's like he was standing there knocking and finally opened the door, and he came in and just sat with you.
No, really.
And he let you sit with him.
No, really. That's literally all it's been.
Yeah.
Literally. It's not I sat on the floor and then I felt
no manufactured moments.
We've just been walking.
Yeah.
And because Joy had asked me the other day, she was like, so what was it before this? Like, what did it feel like? And I was like, it very much, which is what I would say, if you're feeling this,
this is your sign. Seek help. This is your sign.
No, for real. Like, this is like legit your sign. Like, go talk to some people who have shown themselves consistent. Yeah. Because that's what it was for me.
See their fruit. Yeah.
You know, like, y'all who I let in, it was like because I've seen, like, one person has been consistently kind for me for 4 years. And I would be like, she up to something. She trying to change me. She just like this the rest of these church women.
I remember we talked about this, and I was like, so I don't understand. Like, what's your...
I was like, because she's the type who probably want to get her nails done all the time.
And I think I was like, and what's wrong with that?
And I was like,
do you like doing those things? You were like, yes. I was like, okay, so...
and what that honestly came from was from being in places where... being in church environments where women wanted to change me to be more what they thought was feminine and girly and all of that. And so I was like, nope, I ain't going back there. But to what Joel was saying, like, when she asked me, she was like, so what was it like before this? And I was like, before, it felt very much like I was like on a stage about to give this big announcement, like this breaking news. And there was someone like kind of tapping my like ankle, being like, excuse me. And I'm like, no.
I got it.
I got this. And they're like trying to come with vital information that's going to change what, whatever. And like the Lord was that little like, and I'm like, no, I got it. And I was just passing through.
Yeah.
But glory
to God.
Living life on this side where you don't have to pass through, where you can just be and you can just exist. And you're literally, there's nothing that I've done. I've just been able to just be, and in me being, be loved. Because I never thought that was going to be something that was accessible for me. I used to tell people, you're just loved for who you are. Because I was like, that person's great. They are not me. I have to be back into my own little, and I can, but like genuinely who I am is worthy of love from the people around me. I'm like I can like be in like, and I'm letting myself be known by God, but I want to know, like I finished Exodus and now I'm going into Leviticus because I need to know what happens next.
I need to know
what happens after you built the tabernacle.
It's season 2. Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah,
that's so good. Well, if anyone's on this journey, I hope that you hear these words and it opens up something in you where you allow yourself to be known, and where you open up the door and you let God come in and you let him sit with you and eat with you and just know you. And you know him, because more than anything that you do, like, to be known by God is the main thing. It is the thing. And if you don't know him, then you'll get there.
You will.
I don't want to end it on that note, but you'll get there and then he'll say, depart from me, I never knew you.
Oh.
And not trying to be harsh, but like, that's the reality. It's not always about all the things that you do, because it talks about in 1 Corinthians 13 that you could literally give your body to be burned. Like, it goes on these extremes. It talks about how you could do all these things, but if you do them without love, who is love? God is love. How do you know love? The Bible says, I think that's in 1 John. If you don't know love, then you don't know God. I think that's 1 John 4. And so it's like all that comes together of like, you have to know him. He has to know you. That's the way he can be in you and you in him. What that's also in John, abide in me and I will abide in you. I'm the vine and you are the branches, right? again, all these verses will be in the show notes, but all of that is you knowing God, God knowing you, and then you becoming like him. And that's how the process works. So if you feel like you're in that space, I pray that this is an open door for you, and this allows you to open the door to God in your life. And yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. This is great. Great surprise episode.
You extended the invite, and here we are.
Truly. Well, I love you.
I love you.
Until next time. Thank you so much for listening. That concludes this episode and season of Joy in the Morning podcast. Season 4 will begin October 25th, so make sure that you are following on whatever your listening platform is so you are alerted as soon as new episodes in that season begin to drop. Make sure to also follow on Instagram at Joy in the Morning Pod for updates regarding Season 4. Can't wait to see you there.
Yeah.